Levels, waves, or structure stages of development apply across the board to human activities and affairs. Take the famous culture wars, for example, which is a zealously overheated argument as to which system of values is the one true system. There are generally agreed to be three major contestants in these culture wars: the traditional, often fundamentalist, mythic literal, religious believers, advocates of God's truth as literally revealed in the Bible; the modern, rational, scientific believers; and the postmodern, multicultural, sensitivity believers, advocates of non-marginalizing attitudes and ecological sustainability. These three valuable groups are present not only in the United States, but worldwide, and in some cases are behind the breakout of actual warfare, although that also often involves even lower levels, such as magic mythic power drives. What few people seem to realize is that these three value groups are almost exactly three of the major structure stages of human development and growing up that we outlined. The traditional religious fundamentalists are at mythic literal, the modern scientists are at formal rational, and the postmodern multiculturalists are at the postformal pluralistic. The values being promoted by each of these groups can be read almost directly from the structures of these three major stages. All of these stages, mythic, rational, and pluralistic, are referred to as first-tier stages, because all first-tier stages believe that their truth and values are the only truth and values that are real. All the others are infantile, misguided, loopy, or just plain wrong, hence the culture wars. And if these three groups are not in actual warfare somewhere on the planet, they can certainly be found on TV and radio programs and in most editorial sections of every major newspaper, not to mention the many books they author. The rational scientists and new atheists believe the sensitive, caring, postmodern pluralists are loopy and woo-woo, and that the traditional religious fundamentalists are archaic, childish, and dangerous. The postmodern pluralists think that both the rational scientists and the traditional fundamentalists are caught up in, quote-unquote, socially constructed modes of knowing, which are culturally relative and have no more binding power than poetry or fashion styles. This quote-unquote knowledge gives the pluralists an enormous sense of superiority, although in their worldview, nothing is supposed to be superior. And the traditional fundamentalists think that both the modern rational scientists and the postmodern pluralists are all unbelieving heathens, bound for an everlasting hell. So who cares what they think anyway? The simple study of virtually any major developmental model will show the origin and relation of all three of these groups to be three stages in the overall growth and development of human beings, all of them appropriate for a particular period of growth, but inadequate by themselves at higher stages. But the three latest levels of human evolution to emerge yet, aside from the just beginning, very recent integral, these three stages are still fighting for supremacy. They are fighting for control of education, politics, civic values, quote-unquote America's values, religion and spirituality, parental practices, life values themselves, and on and on. This is why the emergence of comprehensive integral values is such a revolutionary development. Radically new in all of history, integral stages go up one step further and ask, what partial truths do each of those first-tier truths have to contribute to a fuller view of mankind? And then work on creating integrated frameworks, such as AQAL, to pull all of those fragments together to more accurately reflect the whole of reality in all of its various interpretations. The result is often called a second-tier approach, and it is indeed a radically novel evolutionary emergent that promises to transmute every one of those areas just mentioned, plus many, many more. This is behind the massive excitement and wild optimism about a worldwide, global transformation to a truly united worldview. But we must remember that there is not just one transformation from the old paradigm to the new paradigm, but there are and have been at least 6 to 8 major transformations in history, and only the very latest one, the emergence of integral, which involves at this time only about 5% of the population, is the huge game changer that the global transformationists present it to be. But it has indeed begun, and it is indeed a game changer. Using more sophisticated maps, such as integral, gives us a much better picture of the actual steps that are involved and what we can do to accelerate this revolutionary transformation. And we will be taking the same approach with spirituality at large.